Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, and everyone in between, Fazbear Entertainment and Movies and Filmmaking is proud to present an AMA with the director of Five Nights at Freddy's, Emma Tammi! As a fan of not only FNAF, but also the Jim Henson Company, FNAF was mine and many's most anticipated film of the year. The movie that most of us thought was ever going to happen. I'd like to thank you, Emma, for taking on the project and bringing it to our screens. It was one of the most fun experiences I've had watching a movie with my friends. It blew our minds. So without further delay, keep your eyes on the monitor and let's get into some questions. So first,
Yes.
Emma, the Blu-ray and DVD will be available tomorrow. What are you excited for audience to see? Are there any behind the scenes that'll be showcased for the first time?
Yeah, absolutely. We've got a handful of behind the scenes videos. And um, for those of you that were or were not aware, when the movie came out, the actors strike was still ongoing. So unfortunately, our cast members weren't able to, speak about the film and do interviews and connect with potential, audiences and all the fan base, which everyone was so eager to do. So it's really nice now with the BTS videos to be able to include some interviews that we did with the cast during production, alongside some footage from behind the scenes and certainly seeing the animatronics come to life and seeing some of Jim Henson's and our puppeteers process bringing the animatronics to life is such a cool glimpse. So I'm really, really excited for everyone to check that out on the DVD. And I actually got to hold a DVD for the first time physically last week, and it was really, really cool. The artwork's awesome, and I'm never been more excited about a DVD. So I'm hoping you all will love it.
I mean, we're all pretty excited to see what actually went on in the pizzeria. And
Yeah,
I know for myself, one of the hardest things was not being able to see like Matthew Lillard and Josh Hutcherson talk about the movie. Cause that's the place where we find out the juicy tidbits before the movie even comes out. Like, but it was great
completely.
seeing
They
you and
get to
Jason.
thanks, but hopefully you'll be seeing a little less of us. If we're lucky enough to do another one, hopefully it'll just be all the cast that you want to see out there.
Speaking of more behind the scenes, I was wondering what was it like writing the script with Scott Cawthon and Seth Cuddleback? I know that this was Scott's first foray into film writing, and it's very different from video game development. So what was that like?
It is, and he was so acknowledging of that, which was really amazing. I think, obviously his encyclopedic knowledge of this world he created and the lore, but also this world that he created was, there are elements of the lore that was expanded upon even just by the fan base. You know what I mean? It's been such a growing thing. And he just knows more than anyone about it. And has been listening to you all for all the years, and of course continuing to create the games and books alongside the franchise. So um, I think having him to really guide blueprint for what elements of the lore we were going to include in this first one, and he had a very specific idea of what characters he wanted to include in this adaptation as well. So those were all essential jumping off springboards. But then throughout the process, know, beyond Seth and myself doing a rewrite alongside Scott of the script, we and I myself continued to feel like I could take whatever risks I was inspired to do because I knew he would let us know if it was not right or if it was not exactly accurate or if it didn't feel FNAF enough, if that makes any
Yeah.
sense. This movie was always conceived as a film for the fans, and um, that was just really, really uh, not just helpful, but I think essential to have his input along the way.
No,
So
it's
it was a great collaboration.
it's so exciting to hear because we only get so much of Scott. We only get him through his like trolling and sending us clues and only a message on like Reddit or something every once in a while. So it's just exciting to hear that. And also that's one of the beauties I think of FNAF is it's so versatile for the most part in its
Mm,
storytelling
oh,
because
yeah,
it's like at the end of the day all you need is a pizzeria and some missing kids and then there's a story there.
yeah, right. There's a simple story there, actually,
Mhm.
and yet it is so not simple, and the lore is so not simple. It just goes on and on and on. And what's also so compelling is the theorizing around it too. That everyone can have a slightly different theory or inclination about what the truth of it is, or what the backstory is, or what all the things that are left somewhat still mysterious, which is, I think, one of the brilliance about Five Nights at Freddy's.
Yeah, it's so much fun. Just trying to agree on one date is so hard. We all years, dates, doesn't matter. We don't know what they are. We can't construct the timeline. It's hilarious.
It's amazing. It's really amazing. I can't think of anything else that. It's really such a unique thing.
Yeah, that's why we all keep coming back to it, I think.
Yeah. Yeah.
Um, shift. Let's shift gears a little bit.
Okay.
A lot of people have been asking about the cast, and they all love them so much. I mean, a lot of us grew up with Josh and Matthew in our lives. So, what was it like working with Josh, Elizabeth, Matthew, Piper? Like, what was it like? What was the vibe on set?
Oh man, it was really the dream team. I don't say that lightly. I feel so lucky to have had this group bring this story to life. I'll just speak to each of them for a minute, but like Josh, Josh, as you mentioned, has been acting since he was a kid, since he was 9, which is actually the age Piper was when we were shooting. So it was very cool because he, would be like, I started acting exactly, when you are, and they were able to really connect on so many levels, and the bond that you feel that they had on screen was really happening off screen as well. They adore each other, and um, Josh comes onto set with real joy and lightheartedness. He sees every crew member. He sees every aspect of the filmmaking process, acknowledges it, and I think that's a testament to him having grown up on sets. He really gets the ecosystem of a film set, and is such an appreciator of that. He also comes with like extreme amount of focus, and every day he was just like diving deeper and deeper into truth of what Mike was looking for, and like the truth of the character, and really trying to find um, the most compelling version of that performance. So that was exceptional for me to get to dive in with him, and really try to you know, explore how deep Mike's waters ran, which were deep. He was greatly tormented, and yet often didn't say that much. So it's like, what was all the subtext, and what were all the things going through Mike's mind throughout each scene? Something we spoke about a bunch. So that was amazing. Matthew Lillard stepping into this role was felt like immediately iconic. I think we were all, myself with the rest of the cast and the crew, were just so excited to see what he was going to do. with this performance, and he was really trying to find it as well, and really get it right again for the fan base, knowing how iconic the role of William Afton was, and also finding kind of this new flavor for the role of Raglan, connecting those. So that was just like such a fun journey to be on with him, and his kids are, familiar with FNAF, and I think he knew the stakes walking into this, and he really just wanted to like do it justice, and he just came in like giving it his all every day and so much energy. Um, and Piper Rubio, who is now maybe the biggest FNAF fan of all time, was just so excited to be on set every day. She like brought so much joy and burst of really like literal sunshine just emanating from her every time she walked on a set. So that all gave us, such a lift. But I would say what was particularly exceptional about Piper was her connection to the animatronics. Like she felt so immediately connected to them as her friends, which is how Abby refers to them. But like she literally felt that way. She was so I was sad when production ended because I knew how much she was going to miss them. And so, she'd get on set, she'd give them a hug, when she left, all that. And it was just incredible. So now she's deep in the lore. Now she's 10 instead of 9, and she just, getting to read the books and getting further and further into it. But I think she saw Josh the other day and like just spoke to him about the lore for an hour, like just wanted to talk about FNAF, her and her brother are completely all in. So that's amazing. And I'll just shout out, Elizabeth, gosh, what a angel walking amongst us. She's just the kindest, most talented woman. And I think, Vanessa is such a complicated character. She's holding so much guilt and really walking the line of like a lot of parts of her life being compartmentalized. And Elizabeth was just like, again, trying to depict that super authentically, super grounded throughout, which I was so appreciative of, and just a joy to work with. And the only other person I'll shout out, although all the supporting characters were just amazing. I mean, Doug is now a meme icon. We love Doug.
Thank you for that one.
He's so incredible. But I was just going to say Mary Stuart Masterson is another person that I actually grew up watching in films, and was always one of my favorites. And I grew up watching her as, a leading lady in Ingenue when she was younger, and it was like Fried Green Tomatoes. And, I so excited to get to work with her for this film, but also to do something with her that she had never done before, which is kind of this like villainous, aunt character. So that was also a little dream come true for me. So anyway, this cast, man, I'm bored.
No,
And all the cameos. And when Corey and Matt Pat came to set, those were some of the best days. I mean, those guys are just like the best.
I
so sweet,
launched
so
out of my chair when I heard Matt Pat's voice. It was like I was risen from the grave. I was like, oh my god, it's Matthew Patrick. Like, this is real.
It was fun watching that part with audiences, because not everyone like immediately recognized him, because you see him first in a wide shot and you don't necessarily like clock that it's him, and then he has a line, and then you get like the first full shot of him, and to see the fans react to that was amazing.
So did you sneak into theaters then to go and like see the movie?
Oh, totally. I went same weekend. I went 3 times. Yeah.
That's wonderful.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. I mean, look, this has to be the most fun movie on earth to watch with the audience, because it's the fan base. Oh, I was so looking forward to that. It's not because I wanted to watch the movie again, because I saw it a million times that leading up to post production,
Oh
you
yeah.
over and over and over again, and well, I of course would love to keep watching it. It was really about watching the audience watch it.
So
That was it.
that to me it was seeing everyone show up dressed up and ready to go. Like I know that I look
Incredible.
a lot right now, but seeing people in their full animatronic suits, like it was one of the coolest things ever.
Totally.
uh,
Oh man, I agree.
so speaking of those wonderful fuzzy little animatronic guys, everyone loves them. We've thought about them for forever, how they would look, and seeing them for real was one of the most exciting things to ever have happen, if I'm being completely honest. And so, how was bringing them to life and working with practical puppets?
It was incredible. I mean, I felt the awe that you're talking about as well. Um, we were building them at Jim Henson's Creature Shop, which is in Los Angeles, and I was visiting the workshop, throughout the process of the build. So every week I'd go in, and some new stuff had been done, and there was some new stuff to check out, and there were some new, things to weigh in on, and um, so it was like a glimpse into what the whole thing was going to be gradually. But I don't think anything prepared me for seeing them fully assembled and on their feet. It's like they took on a life of their own, and not to be corny about it. I mean, but that literally is what it felt like. It was like, oh, there you are, and it was magnificent. And for me, was the blend of them feeling enormous and scary, as well as lovable, and at times, like, humorous, just in their quirks, and their scale. It's like that was the perfect blend of what the feeling of Freddy's is, what the feeling of the animatronics are. So the fact that that got captured was everything. So that was the, the best collaboration with Henson. We were so lucky to work with them.
Well, the results were magnificent. So we're winding down in our time to chat. So I'm gonna ask you one last question. Here in our community, we have a lot of indie filmmakers and students. So what advice would you give to aspiring directors, and how do you navigate getting into the industry?
Yeah, that's a great question. I think everyone gets in probably slightly differently. So, there's no exact roadmap to follow. However, I'll say two things. I think one, making making things with your friends is super important, or whatever group of people, like-minded, passionate people that you can link up with to try to create things with, whether that's shooting something on your iPhone. I mean, technology right now makes all of this so accessible, and much more accessible even than when I was, a kid. But still, I remember like doing some things on like an old VHS, tape with my friends, and editing things on a VHS machine, which I don't recommend. That is very clunky and cumbersome, but I did it. And you start, however you do it, whatever equipment you're using, you start to use the muscles of storytelling and visual storytelling. And I also think, if you have the opportunity, again, as you're telling people to make things together, you're in school or outside of school, or whatever the context, trying different hats on is great too. If someone directs one project and writes the other, maybe you do all of that. But I was producing and editing and assisting and, doing so many things prior to directing. It really gave me, I think, a great knowledge base once I was actually directing as to how it all works and what some of the other hats are and which one I ultimately wanted to wear. There's so many opportunities to be and so many different ways to be involved in making films. So just getting familiar with all the different of ways to be part of the filmmaking process, I think is great. And then this is still something that's broken about, I would say, at least the Hollywood system, but even independent filmmaking too. It's hard. It's really, really helpful if you can try to do an internship or reach out to someone, that you admire or is doing the thing you want to do and figure out a way to assist or be a PA, production assistant, or a personal assistant. But those gigs are not always paid. I know it's tough when you're juggling a job and then you're trying to do an internship, all that stuff. As much exposure as possible to other people doing the thing that you want to do or something close to that is really, really helpful. And I think reaching out and making connections is also really, really helpful. Some people make those connections in film school. I didn't go to film school. I started making documentaries straight out of undergrad and turning and doing production assistant work and all that stuff. So I was just getting my feet wet. But there's so many different ways to do it. But however you're making those connections, whether it's your friends and colleagues that you're going to come up with, or someone at an executive level, those are going to be the people that you come back to over and over again to try to keep making great stories. So
Well,
keep making stuff. That's my main takeaway.
And that is a very good answer. So I am going to wrap this up now. I have loved every second of talking to you, Emma. You have just been an absolute delight.
Back
I
at you.
would
This
just
was awesome.
Just need to do some housekeeping. We just would like to thank Universal and Blumhouse for giving our server and the Discord platform this opportunity. Five Nights at Freddy's is out on Peacock and digital. It comes out tomorrow on Blu-ray, DVD, and 4K. We would just like to thank all of our partnering Discords on getting the word out about this event. The Five Nights at Freddy's Discord, Fredit Discord, FNAF Theorists, Filmtopia, Script Hive, and Blackmagic Discord. So thank you all for helping out and making this happen.
So cool. Thank you, everyone. Thank you, Lacey. Thank you so much. This was awesome. Really appreciate it.
Much, Emma.
Thank you, audience.